So it's been about a week since we got back from the South Island from our big trip. I never had the time when I was down there to go ahead and do a review on a trailer and a walk around of the rig. So I've come out to this campground which is not far from my house, so we can run through it all and show you guys what I took with me around the South Island, how we made it work, and why I chose this setup is probably a big thing as well. I looked at a lot of different options, so let's get into that first. So I've had the tent for a while. This is just a standard Felden shelter which you can buy here in New Zealand. I'm going to run through some of the positives and negatives about this tent in this video also, but yeah, I already had that, but I did have it on the roof rack. The thing I found with that is a few problems. So first off, once you've set up your tent and you're all at camp ready to go, that's it. You can't go anywhere unless you pack everything up again. And now it's not too much of a pain if you're just going from spot to spot, and it's fine. But if you're planning on staying in an area and you want to go exploring or something like that, you have to pack the tent away, and it's just a bit of a pain. Putting it on the trailer just allows me to go ahead and unhitch, because this can stand on its own. You can get to camp, set it all up, and then you can unhitch it and go exploring, go to the shops, go whatever you want to do, and leave this at camp all set up, ready to go, which is just fantastic. The other reason was it's not going to apply to all vehicles, but in my case, the Jeep is quite tall, so I've got 35-inch tyres and the lift is about 4.5 inches all up. And yeah, so it's quite tall off the ground, and when you put the roof on top, it just gets quite unstable around corners. Not dangerously so, but it's definitely, you can feel it waving around in sort of big corners and stuff like that. And it also hit the fuel economy as well. Now, putting the trailer on the back of the Jeep, towing that along, has affected the fuel economy a little bit, but probably only about the same as what it was on the roof. It's definitely not worse. So the Jeep isn't good to begin with. Like, I get without the trailer, how it's set up now with 35s and no gear changes or anything like that. It's an automatic, and I can get about 14 litres per 100 kilometres. With the trailer in tow, I'm getting about like 15.8 to 16 tops kind of thing. I'm losing about 30 kilometres per tank with towing the trailer on board, so it's not a massive difference, and like I said, it's definitely not worse than having it on the roof of the vehicle itself. The wind resistance is terrible when this thing's on top. These Jeeps are already like a Lego brick. They're not aerodynamic at all. Now, the third reason I wanted to put the tent on the trailer was because with our little 3-year-old up that high on the roof, the ladder for the Felden shelter was extended to the max, and I know you can get an extension as well, but the point was it's just way too tall, and if we couldn't put her in there by herself and just trust that she'd be okay. If she went to climb out and she fell, it's quite a long drop. Just didn't feel comfortable having it up that high. So having it lower down on this trailer has definitely improved that. So let's talk a little bit about why I went with this whole setup as opposed to something else, because I did have a four-wheel drive high-ace van with a bed in the back, which I really loved, and it was awesome. They definitely have pluses and minuses. I was looking at motorhomes, and they're super expensive, especially for like a four-wheel drive one, and obviously not as capable as this setup. So obviously I'm really into my four-wheel driving, and I do a lot of four-wheel driving in this Jeep. No matter how clean it looks, it gets beaten off-road heavily. So this allows me to go off-road. I've done the Macetown Trail with this trailer. I've done Skipper's Canyon. I've done a whole bunch of sort of really rough off-roading, and the trailer's held up fine. So it's a big plus being able to go anywhere and just explore to your heart's content. And pretty much, the trailer would probably have its limits, but I haven't found it yet. There is a few things that need to be tweaked on it, but I'll talk about that in a second. I originally was looking at caravans. I looked at the sort of real heavy-duty off-road camper trailers, like the Black Series campers, and they're awesome. Don't get me wrong, they're great, but they weigh a lot, like they're 2 ton almost, I think, and they're a lot of money. 25 grand is a lot of money for a trailer. I know it's probably worth it, and they're a whole different kettle of fish than what I have, but they are a lot of money and they are heavy, so that was a sort of downside for me. So let's start the walk around and I'll show you guys the whole setup. Now before I get into this, I need to, if not morally, legally, tell you guys that Pod Trailers did hook me up with a bit of a discount when I bought this trailer, so it's kind of a sponsored video. But let me be clear that when I approached Pod Trailers, I originally sent them a message and I said, look, I'm going to buy one of these trailers, whether you want to do a deal or not. I'd love to work with you guys and, you know, give you some content for your website and, you know, honest review and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, like, so I made it super clear that I was going to buy one regardless of or not. And I didn't get it for free. I just got a bit of a discount. So I'm really grateful. Thanks, guys, for supporting the channel. Other than that, nothing else in this whole build was discounted or sponsored or anything like that. So let's jump into it. First off, the trailer. It is a pod all-rotor, as you can see here. They have a few different ones. So there's the pod all-rotor, which is this one. They have the Extreme over in Aussie. I don't think that one's here yet. And they have the standard one, which is a little bit lower, etc., etc. This one has Land Cruiser 6-stud wheels. It has leaf springs with the shackles there, so it actually handles quite well and manages to keep the tires on the road most of the time, you know, off-road when you're sort of bumping around all over the place. Sometimes it can lift, but I'm going to be adding shocks to it, and this trailer actually already has the mounting holes and stuff, so you can add shocks straight to it. So I'm going to add shocks to it, just if not just to, you know, keep the life of the springs going a little bit more. Now it's made of a kind of polycarbonate plastic, the tub part of it and the lid, which keeps the weight really low. Everything else has this crazy heavy duty it's like 100 by 50 box section, and it's just made so solidly. You can see all the welds and everything are really nice, and yeah, the best thing is it only weighs just under 400 kilos on its own without the tent. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it weighs 390 kilos on its own, and the tent is about 60. So this whole thing, even with everything on it, weighs less than 500 kilos, which is super light, and I really can't tell. You know, you can tell you're towing something with the Jeep, but not, you know, it's not straining, it doesn't affect anything really. It just tows along fine, it tracks fine, it doesn't wobble all over the place. It's really stable on the road, which is great. So I added a few things to the trailer. As you can probably tell, I did go ahead and buy the fuel canister holder, which holds a 20-litre container. And I did use that off-road because we got a little bit low on one of the trails. I added the rear stabilizers, these arms that pop down, these legs I should say that pop down, and you know, along with the front jockey wheel, that means that the trailer can be just supported on its own when I unhitch it. Here's a little view of the undercarriage. It comes with a spare wheel by default. That's not an added extra, they come with that. It also came with these roof racks on it, which hold the tent. So the only thing I've added to this myself that wasn't part of Pod Trailers is my little GoPro here, these Rhino rack mounts which hold fishing rods or whatever you want to do, the tent itself, and my little water holder thing, which I'll go over in a second. Really happy with the trailer. Like I said, it's the same kind of height as my Jeep, so when you're traveling along, you're not really losing any clearance or anything like that unless you have some really kind of extreme articulation going on, which was what I was talking about before when I said I would change something. So the only thing that I would change at the moment, apart from the shocks, is this trailer hitch. Even though it's heavy duty and it's you know, it's really solid, it doesn't allow for like extreme articulations. If you have a look at this clip here, when I was going over the ridge, you know, the trailer is at a massive angle and it's just sort of maxing it out. That's not to do with the trailer, that's just geometry, and any trailer is going to be like that. So I'm going to get a 3-axis hitch eventually on there. So next thing, it has these latches which hold the lid down. There's 4 of them, so one here, and then one on this side, and all you do is unclip it, so, and then it has these gas struts. So I'm just lifting this with one hand here with the tent on top, and you can do that with the tent folded out as well, which is great. So if you set up camp and you need to get something out, you can still do that. This leads me to my fourth point, which I actually forgot about why I wanted a trailer instead of having the roof tent on the top. So when three of us went away and the tent was on the roof, your whole truck is packed full of stuff that you're taking away, like food, bedding, all sorts of stuff, and the truck is just jam-packed full of everything, so there's just no room. This thing has a huge amount of storage in it, as you can see here. You know, I've got so much stuff in here and it's not even near full, so that's really awesome. You don't get any dust or anything inside it. It has rubber seals around the outsides. Really a ton of storage in there. It's held up by these really heavy duty gas struts, which don't leak or at all. You know, I've had the trailer for about 2 months now, so you know, I've really put it through its paces and had no issues at all so far. While I'm in here, I'll just go over some of the stuff we took away really quickly. So all I did was get this non-slip mat, and then I got a bunch of containers and stuff down here. This one just has a power hookup for campsites and a bunch of other Jeep stuff, my axe for any firewood. I've got a fold-out table. This one has a few car Jeep spares in it, just basic stuff, and the other one just has some more camping equipment like gas cookers and, you know, just random stuff. This is a inflatable Torpedo 7, a double inflatable air mattress. It's a self-inflating one and it is really awesome. All you do is fold it out, undo the valves, and it just inflates itself, and it's quite thin. The reason I got that is because the mattress in the Felden camper itself, for me personally, everybody's going to have a different opinion, but for me it's way too thin. You know, I sleep on my side and your hips just hit the bottom of the tent and it's quite uncomfortable. So, you know, maybe if you had I did try it with like a little foam liner, the eggshell kind of foam liners in there, and it still wasn't enough. So, you know, if you were sleeping on your back or something like that, it would probably be okay, but it's not comfortable enough. So I chucked that in there, and the only bummer is you can't leave that in there and fold the tent up. You have to take it out. So it's not a big hassle because it's self-inflating, it's easy, but yeah, I do have a mattress for that. I have my air compressor pump for the tyres here, so I can deflate and re-inflate the tyres. Let's drop this back down. Easy as that. Lock back up. Now the other thing I added, like I mentioned before, was I built this water tank. So this holds roughly about 16, 17 litres, I think, of water. It's quite a lot. I just made it out of parts, 100mm PVC pipe from Mitre 10 and all that sort of stuff. You know, you can buy it from anywhere. And then these Rhino Rack mounts go onto the bottom of the bar. So that's the filler cap, and I filled it up. It is actually full at the moment. So if I turn the tap on, you can see it runs out there. And it just has a normal hose fitting on it. The reason I painted it black is because you've probably already seen there's solar showers you can buy online, but they're mad expensive. They definitely look cooler than this, but this does the job. The water does get quite warm, definitely warm enough for like a nice shower. And then I have this tyre valve here, so I can attach the tyre inflator, my compressor, to here. And then you've got, you know, this pipe's good for like 20, 30 psi, but you know, 20 psi gives you a ton of pressure, the same as probably what your tap or hose would be at home. So, you know, if you want to hose anything off on the Jeep or have a shower, wash dishes, that is fantastic, and I'm super proud of that. So let's get into the Jeep now. It is a 2018 Jeep Wrangler Sport. It's not a Rubicon or anything. Everything on this I've pretty much done myself, so I bought it brand new and it was completely stock standard. So everything you see here I've bought from either Amazon or eBay or Trade Me or second hand or something like that. So I'll quickly run through and show you guys everything I have on here. So basically I have a rough country lift, which is about 2.5 inches. It lifted the front a lot more than it did the rear, so I also have some spaces in the back, some spring spaces, just to lift the rear up a little bit, and that was even without the trailer or anything. You know, it was definitely sagging a little bit. So the quality of the lift kit, I mean, it's okay. I would say for what you spend, you know, it was only about $1,000 New Zealand, and for what that's for all 4 shocks and springs, and it's fine, like it does the job. It's probably not, you know, I'm definitely going to upgrade at some point, at least the shocks to like Fox shocks or something where they can afford it. So, and because they're nitro, this is the version 3 ones, because they're nitro, they're definitely quite firm. I think I'll probably go for oil shocks next time. And then I have Gladiator 35-inch XComp all-terrain tires. I had mud tires, I had 33s on there before, and they were fantastic, but I wanted 35s, and these all-terrains, you know, I went all the way around the South Island, heaps of off-road tracks, and never felt like I needed mud tires, and these are so quiet. It was just so much more comfortable. We done 3,500 Ks on this South Island trip in 7 days, so it was a lot of driving. Definitely not enough time, but it was great, and these tires just made it so much more comfortable. If I was going to buy tires and money wasn't an object, I would definitely buy the BF Goodrich KO2s, hands down. I couldn't stretch the budget to that at the moment. They're like $700 and something each here in New Zealand, and it was just too much for me. So once these wear out, and hopefully I'll have some more money by then, and I'll upgrade to the KO2s for sure. But no complaints with these tyres at all, they've been fine. So working around the Jeep now, I just have these steps that fold out. I got these before the trailer because they just made it way more easy to get up on the rack to unfold the tent. So they hold a ton of weight. Let me climb up. On the roof here I have a Rhino Rack Pioneer tray with the backbone system that goes inside, which you'll see. Spade holder, Max Tracks, well, Max Tracks, they're just fake ones, I don't know, cheaper options which I've never used yet. I just bought them before we went to Queenstown just because I knew that we'd be going to some pretty remote places without trees around, and you know, I have a winch, but it's kind of useless if you don't have an anchor or anything to winch off. So got Max Tracks backup insurance, and I'm glad I did. They are dismounted with the Rhino Rack Max Tracks mount as well, really easy. This tray is fantastic, and you know, to be honest, it is quite expensive. It was about 2,500 New Zealand dollars installed, but you know, it's really good quality, and to be honest, there's not really many other options to get some serious weight on the roof here in New Zealand. I know in the States there's heaps of options, you can get external cages and all sorts, but we just don't have those here, so I kind of had to go with this, and I'm still glad I did, even though it was quite pricey. So here I have a Boulder 100 Goal Zero 100-watt solar panel. We'll get into that in a sec when we look inside, so I'll show you how my power system works with the fridge and everything, but that is my solar panel. That's a 100-watt Goal Zero Boulder 100. You can definitely get cheaper panels, and I'll get into that soon. Walking around the back, I just have a Bush Ranger wheelie bin. You know, I'm not one for leaving our crap on the side of the road and in campsites, so this was great for just storing rubbish in. On the back here I have a genuine Jeep Mopar steel bumper, super heavy duty, and it's great. I got that second hand. I got the rear one and the front one off another Jeep guy here in Auckland. Around this side I have the Rhino Rack Batwing awning, which I'll set up for you and show you guys in this video. That thing is amazing. I love it. I would not trade it for anything. I did look at the LU cab one, which is double the price, and obviously a lot more heavy duty than the Rhino Rack one, but you know, you got to weigh it up, see where your money is, you know, see what you can afford. For about 900 New Zealand dollars, this Rhino Rack Batwing awning is just amazing. I love it. Moving on to lighting, I have a couple of pods here which just light up the side trails. They've been amazing. They're only small, but they're really bright. And then on the front here I have two, I have to check the wattage, but they're super bright LEDs. I got those because I really didn't want a light bar, so these mounts I just got off Trade Me, and then they just wire into what I have under the bonnet, which I'll show you in a minute. And that's the front bar, and I have a Runva 13,000 pound winch. This is a 13 XP Premium, I believe, with the synthetic rope. Yeah, that's pretty much the exterior. I'll just show you under the bonnet quickly. So my Jeep is completely stock standard engine wise, just been maintained as per the service schedule for the warranty and stuff. And you know, I like to look after my vehicles. I did take off the top thing because, I don't know, it's just kind of pointless. And the only thing I've added is this Rough Country ML6 box. Now what this does is wire in to this pod here. Now with all the switches on it. The benefit about that, I need to clean up this wiring too, by the way, I know. So this has 6 switches here, and all these lights and everything that I have wired into it just wires into this, and then there's just one wire going up to that switch on the roof there. So you don't have to wire everything to the switch. It's all here. It's all, you know, it has fuses and relays and everything in here. So that's great. It's like the S-Pod, but a cheaper version, I guess. And then I just have my kill switch there screwed into the box for my winch. And then, on the front also, I did have these LED headlights because the genuine Jeep ones, their standard ones, are like the worst headlights I've ever seen on any car ever. Terrible headlights. If just for safety purposes, you have to upgrade them really. And then the only other thing I have on the front is this aerial to my CB radio, which is just a Oricom unit. I've had a few in the past. I had a GME one and the Oricom one, and actually I've had 2 of each, and they both seem to be the same thing for slightly cheaper, I think the Oricom one is. I would have gone with a GME one, but none of the shops had them in stock when I was looking for one, so I just went for the Oricom one, and it's been fine. So let's talk about the inside. Now, everything I've done on the inside of this Jeep is pretty much functional for the trip. So I have my GoPro mount there. This is a RAM mount for an iPad Mini 4, which I use for offline maps. And then I have the Vector off-road bar here, which I got from the States. Love that, it's so good. Really happy with that. It just mounts with these RAM mounts here, and it's like super heavy duty. And then down here I have the Oricom radio I was talking about, which goes up to the handheld bit, which I just literally screwed into the handle there. And the only other thing people have asked me about is I did the switch mod. So this switch, what it does is basically disables entirely the ESP and all the traction control and everything like that, because when you turn it off with the switch on a Jeep, it doesn't actually do much. You know, it kind of half turns it off, I guess. And I found when I was going over the dunes and stuff like that, the tires would bog down, and you know, they'd get to a point and they would go and then stop and then stop, and it would just keep doing that over and over again. So that mod has completely fixed it. And in mud and sand, you only need it for like that really soft stuff or snow. Makes a massive difference. I'm sure it voids my warranty, so I hope Jeep aren't watching this. If they are, I don't care. I'm leaving it in there because it just works great. And then I just have these wild boar handles. I used to have the ones here, but I found they're quite annoying because when you turn your head to look out the window, they're kind of right here, and these are much more stable. So 2 wild boar handles, and then I have the rear ones as well. In the rear, I don't really have anything other than I bought our little girl a new car seat that's much more comfortable than her old one because we were doing so many miles. And I also bought her a little tablet holder so she can watch movies when she wanted to if we were doing long stretches of driving. And there's the other wild boar handle here. Now into the back, I know this was talked about on another Facebook group just today actually, about fridges. So first off, I do have a fire extinguisher just because, you know, you should have one really if you're going to be responsible off-roader. And then I have this eBay table, which is great. Love that. It holds so much weight, and it's, you know, you can put the gas cooker on there. It's perfect size for the double burner gas cooker. Other than the only downside was the template sucks. So I drilled the wrong hole because I rushed it and done it so many stupid ways. But the template, don't trust it at all. It's terrible. And then into the fridge. So I have, this is from J-Car, and it's a 40-litre dual zone fridge. Holds a whole bunch of stuff in there. It's massive and it works really well. You've got the controls here, which I just changed by mistake. All digital controls in dual zone, so you can see it's at 4 degrees at the moment. And yeah, it works really, really great. It's really good with power. It doesn't suck that much out because you can hear it's going at the moment, maybe. It's quite quiet, you know, but it only runs for a little bit and then turns off and uses a really, really low current draw. So that leads me on to my power system. So originally I was going to go with a dual battery setup, you know, like hardwired into the Jeep with a cut-off switch or a DC-DC charger or something like that. I don't know why. I have a few cars, and it's just the system I have is portable. It's just really handy. It works well. It wasn't stupidly expensive. You definitely could have done it a little bit cheaper, but here it is. So I have a Goal Zero Yeti 400. Now this, if you guys haven't heard of the Goal Zero stuff, they're basically portable power setups for RVs and off-roading and whatever really. So look it up. There's a whole bunch of YouTube videos on that. It's basically plugged into that Boulder solar panel I have on the roof, and you can see at the moment it's not charging a massive amount because it's cloudy. I'm only getting 13 watts, and when it's full like that, the watts drop, the input drops quite low. So on a normal sunny day I get about 60 to 70 watts constantly with the Boulder 100, and you can see at the moment the fridge is drawing 10 watts when it's at idle, so it's actually charging slightly more than what it's outputting at the moment anyways, and you can see the battery's still on 100. It does have USB slots so I can charge all my camera gear, 2 main power switches, and then I just have the cable running up to the roof through here to the solar panel. Now usually I have this Goal Zero under the rear seat, but I just put it here. It fits in there perfectly on this Jeep's, but I put it in here just so I could show you guys all the setup. I am actually working on a drawer system for the back here, so this fridge will be over here sideways and you'll be able to slide it out, etc. Now the reason I've been carrying this thing around, this turned up late because I just found out you could get them. This is basically an adapter which goes into the Goal Zero and then just the standard solar panel plugs. So it was only about $20, and what this allows you to do is use any solar panel with your Goal Zero Yeti 400. The reason you'd want to do that is because the Goal Zero panels are stupidly expensive. They are good, but they're way overpriced, and you know the reason I went with it is because I got a little bit of a trade discount thanks to the guys at Auckland Camera Centre who have just started stocking them as well. So if you want Goal Zero stuff, Auckland Camera Centre in Kingsland are now stockists for Goal Zero. So those panels are about $500 usually, where you can get a normal 100-watt solar panel for like $200. Quality is going to depend on what you get and where you get it from, etc. But you know, having this just allows you to run more, and you can run splitters. This Yeti 400 can only run up to like 120 watts of solar, I believe, but you can get much bigger ones. You can get lithium ones, all sorts of stuff. I follow a really great channel on YouTube called Trail Recon. He has the Goal Zero Yeti 400, and I decided to go with this one thanks to him because this is just the AGM battery. The lithium one is probably slightly better because it's lithium, but you can't charge it via the car. So this one you can plug it into your 12-volt cigarette lighter, and when you're driving you can also charge it. So if you don't want to have a solar panel, you can just charge it via 12-volt. So yeah, really happy with my power system. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. That's my setup. I am actually looking at getting another van because just, you know, this is great for me. I love it, and I do some adventuring off-road with the boys, go out with the mates. My other mate Kyle, he's got a ute, and you know, we go just remote places, and this is just perfect for me. We are looking at getting a van, so I'm probably going to get another Hiace or a Nissan NV350 possibly, but the best thing is all I need to do is get a tow bar, and I can take the trailer with me, and we have more accommodation if we take the kids with us or something. So really stoked with that. Just got to find myself a cheap van. So I'm going to set up the tent really quickly and the awning just to show you guys how that works and just give you a little bit of a rundown on this Felden shelter. So you just basically unzip this like so, flip it over, and then it has these 3 Velcro straps holding it all in. In here is all your tent pegs and stuff, so you can pin it down. So once you've got the Velcro straps undone, all you do is basically grab the top one, pull it around, and then you can drop the legs down to the height you want. It will support its own weight while you do this as well, no worries at all. Like so. And that's pretty much it. So you've got a really sweet setup. heaps of coverage in terms of rain and wind and anything like that. It's quite windy here at the moment, but not windy enough that it would be a problem in terms of it like taking off, but usually I would just put the pegs down in the feet, and that just keeps it all really nice and stable. But huge amount of coverage under here. You can open up the drawers and it covers all your cooking area and everything like that. So you can just have the gas cooker there even if it's raining, and you know, you've got such a good amount of shade and rain cover. You can actually also get sides for it, so it has zips all the way around, and you can enclose it in to be like another kind of sleeping area, I guess. So yeah, really happy with that. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set up the Felden shelter and show you guys what I think about that. So first off, you just got the straps on the back here, and then I think the zip is on, and then you come around to this side and start the zip off. Best thing about this is you guys are seeing it in real time, so you can see how long it takes to set up. Take the cover off, and then there's the straps on the sides here and here. There's 4 of them. I just let the cover hang down like so. Pull the ladder out. That's one bad thing. This holder for the pegs is broken. Yeah, it's kind of ripped through. I tried to fix it with duct tape, but obviously didn't work, so I've got to do that again. But that's pretty much it in terms of the main part. Then you just need to grab the pegs out, the supports for the sides. So it comes with 8 of these. Usually I'll just set up this front side, the access side, and then I'll set up the rear end, depending on where the view is. But you know, I'll have one there, like that. And then one there, and that's pretty much the shelter set up. You can do a little bit more. You can set up the vents on the other side and stuff like that. That's pretty much it. Like I said, you know, you can have the awning set up. You don't have to unhitch anything, and like I said, you can still lift the trailer up with the tent set up, no problem at all. If we have a look in here, so as you can see, it's got a huge amount of room, and this is a pretty wide lens, but it's got a massive amount of room for a like 2 people. It's huge. It's longer than my queen bed at home and not quite as wide. We had Mila and us 2 in here. Mila sort of slid down the end that way, and then we were this way, and you know, it worked out fine. So let's talk about this tent a little bit. It's a good tent. It does have some issues. If I was going to do it again, I'm sorry to say I probably wouldn't buy one. You can get like the mud stuck ones, and there's a whole bunch, and I don't want to put down any brands or anything like that, but there's a whole bunch of tents you can get on the market which are really nice for less money. So the downsides of this tent, let's just get the negatives out of the way first. The biggest one is this ladder is complete rubbish. It's just so, like, I mean, they're all the same, all of them. The guy Trail Recon I was talking about, I believe his one is the same. And you know, these get really stuck, but yeah, it's just really not happy with the quality of the ladder. The tent itself is really good. Like I said, it does catch all over the place, so you can see here it's ripped. There's a few places when you fold it back up, these kind of slide out. It's definitely waterproof. I've been in some really heavy rain and not had one single drip inside it. It gets quite a bit of condensation inside, so like the corner of the mattresses usually get pretty wet around here because it's touching directly on there, and you've got a couple of bodies in there. It does get quite a lot of condensation. Even with the vents and the windows open, I sleep quite hot, so I usually have all the vents open, and it still is quite wet on the inside. I don't think that's a Felden thing. I think it's probably just a tent thing. The other complaint I had, like I already said, the mattress is really thin. Probably okay for some people, but for me, if you weigh, I'm like 92 kilos. If you weigh anything probably above like 70 kgs, it's probably going to dig into your hip quite bad. You definitely need another mattress or at least a liner or something to make it more comfortable on multi-day adventures, I guess. If I was going to do it again and I had the extra money, I would probably go for the Alucab clamshell tents, which I am looking at getting soon anyways. They're a little bit heavier than these, but not a whole lot. And my memory card ran out, so I'm back home now. I've got a fresh memory card in there, but I was pretty much finished anyways. So let me just finish what I was talking about with the tents. And what I was saying was that if I would do it again, I would probably just go for the Alucab one. I know they're a hell of a lot more money, like 3 times more expensive. Don't get me wrong, for the money that you pay, the Felden shelters are fine. I think they're probably pretty much the same as every other low-cost tent on the market. Like, I had a look at a couple of other brands local here in Avondale. I looked at 2 different brands. I'm not going to name names, but they all pretty much looked identical. Some of them had the exact same ladder, the exact same brackets and extrusions around the outside. The tent material was probably the only thing that varied a little bit. Not worse, just different. So in my opinion, most of them are going to be pretty much the same. Some of them will have bigger down floors than others. So anyway, I found one second hand for $1,500. It had been used like twice and it was in pretty much new condition. So I'm happy with it for what I paid. So I'm going to upgrade anyways. Hopefully I'll be able to get the Alucab one. If not, maybe I'll just get like one of the bigger family tents. So yeah, that's my rig. That's everything that I've done to it and my sort of overland setup. There's definitely a few things that I'm going to change in the future. So the trip was great. We had a really good time. I definitely didn't video or take as many photos as I wish I did, but I'm almost finished editing that. Thanks for watching part 1, guys. Within a day or 2, I'll have part 2 ready. I just didn't want to make this video like 2 hours long, so the next one is going to be a long one, but it's our whole trip around the South Island. Watch out for that. See you in a couple of days.